Okay, so I am picking up in Ezra chapter 4, and this is where there is resistance to rebuilding the temple. Their opposition comes in, and there's a letter that they want to delay the work of rebuilding from the enemy. This comes in, and then Darius. There's a thing that happens under Darius, another king, and there's an Artaxerxes who comes up as well, another king, and they all support the rebuilding, so it resumes. Part of it they do anyway. Anyway, this all ties into the 70 weeks of years prophecy by Daniel, also because it all says from the time that this decree is given, then they get the 69 weeks of years and all that. So I wanted to mention that. It ties into that as well. So, okay. And what I'll be talking about now, I also did a whole video series on this when it comes to spiritual warfare and how it ties in. So you can look for that in the video library. It's a series on spiritual warfare. But I'll be going over some of it here again. Okay, so in 4, I'll read that. Now, when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the descendants of the captivity were building the temple of the Lord God of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and the heads of the fathers' houses and said to them, "Let us build with you, for we seek your God as you do, and we have sacrificed to him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the heads of the fathers' houses of Israel said to them, "You may do nothing with us to build a house for our God, but we alone will build to the Lord God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us." So it sounded good, right? Oh, we just want to help you. But there was most likely a sinister plan hidden under the surface, and he detected it and didn't let them. Plus, he said the command was that they did it, not somebody else with them. So there might have been a problem if they would have let them. So anyway. Okay, then the people of the land tried to discourage the people of Judah. So, see, they had no intention. They were adversaries trying to hinder the work. So, in offering to help, it was also a hindrance that was hidden under the surface, and he detected it, although it might not seem obvious just from reading it, other than what it said, that they're adversaries, but, So, the next tactic was discouragement. So, they tried to discourage the people of Judah. So, we had infiltration was the first one, right? And then they were probably going to try to sabotage the work, right? Then they saw that they didn't trust them, so they moved to the next tactic, which was discouragement. They troubled them in building and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So, you see their motive here. These were all the techniques and tactics from the enemy to hinder and stop the work of God and stop the rebuilding of the temple. Back then, that was the thing, So they were trying to stop that. Why would these adversaries care if it didn't matter, right? Why does the enemy care if it isn't important? Oh, if it's just another building and, it's just somebody practicing their religion, whatever, leave them alone, right? Who cares, right? But it is more in the, here, and the enemy doesn't like it because of that, and he tries to hinder it because of that. So that's what was happening here. he was working behind these adversaries. So now, in the reign of Ahasuerus, so this is the king that married Esther, remember that? That guy, and he showed up in one of the prophets as well, the same guy. So he was around back then. So in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, they wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. So now we have false accusations coming in. All right. In the days of Artaxerxes, also Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabel, and the rest of their companions wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia, and the letter was written in Aramaic script and translated into the Aramaic language. Rehum, the commander, and Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to King Artaxerxes in this fashion. So he writes a letter slandering them. Total false accusation, claiming that they're up to no good and it will be trouble for all these other kingdoms and stuff. And it's a lie, And he, okay, so now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum, Shimshai, the scribe, and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem against the Jews, and by force of arms made them cease. Thus, the work of the house of God, which is at Jerusalem, ceased, and it was discontinued until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. See, so they were making trouble. Now, a slander to try to get the work to stop. Now, in chapter 5, it says here, restoration of the temple resumed. Then the prophet Haggai and Zechariah, the son of Iddo, prophets, prophesied to the Jews who were in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel who was over them. So Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, rose up and began to build the house of God, which is in Jerusalem, and the prophets of God were with them, helping them. So the prophets prophesied to the people. Okay, wait a minute here. In the name of the God of Israel who was over them. So see, like, who's the boss, right? It's God. It's another case of we have to obey God above man. So here, these guys rose up and began to build the house of God. So they began rebuilding anyway, see, which is in Jerusalem, and the prophets of God were with them, helping them. So, like, we're going to do it anyway because we obey God and not man who contradicts him. So they resumed the work anyway, okay? At the same time, Tattenai, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-Boznai and their companions came to them and spoke thus to them, who has commanded you to build this temple and finish this wall? Then, accordingly, we told them the names of the men who were constructing this building, but the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, so that they could not make them cease till a report could go to Darius. Then a written answer was returned concerning this matter. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai sent. Okay, so there are letters going back and forth in these two books. So here he asked this king, like, okay, so what do you want? Do you want them to resume and do this or not? And then this is the one where he looks into it, this Darius, and finds out, oh yes, all of that and more is supposed to be going on. So he orders for even more work to be done. All right, so that's what happens, the decree of Darius. Then King Darius issued a decree, and a search was made in the archives where the treasures were stored in Babylon. And at Achmetha, in the palace that is in the province of Media, a scroll was found, and in it a record was written thus. Okay, and it's a long letter. Again, it's all this, and yeah, all that. So, basically saying, yes, they're supposed to do this work. And so they got official authorization to do it anyway. And then, they just kept doing it, and that's it. So they were ordered even for more, like bring them, pay for anything, give them whatever they need, pay for anything else they want. It was just this blank slate of anything. So it went even better, and it was funny. So anyway, so that's what happens. And then here, the temple is completed and dedicated. So they do finish it, and Passover is celebrated here. And then in 7, Ezra, the arrival of Ezra, he's going back and forth between Babylon and Israel. So he comes, and then in chapters 2, 7, and 10, it's a lot about here's another letter, like down here, the letter of Artaxerxes to Ezra. Same thing, do all the work, blah blah blah, all that. So that's what's happening there. So he did it, and so here, so I was encouraged as the hand of the Lord my God was upon me, and I gathered leading men of Israel to go up with me. So anyway, so 2, 7, and 10 are a lot about letters, supplies, details about the work, and so on. And then in Ezra, so he then goes up. It is heads of families who returned with Ezra. So 8 has a lot of that kind of detail. Who went with who, servants for the temple. Then in fasting and prayer for protection. Okay, so that's a strategy that, did I put that over here? Oh, it's in the other list. Okay, I'll get to that. So fasting and prayer for protection. Okay, we'll get there. Okay, and gifts for the temple. So this is what's happening. And then in 31 to 36, I'll just read this part. Then we departed from the river of, this is them going back, okay, the river of Ahava on the 12th day of the first month to go to Jerusalem. And the hand of our God was upon us, and he delivered us from the hand of the enemy and from ambush along the road. So we came to Jerusalem and stayed there 3 days. Okay, so they were fasting and praying for protection for the journey because they didn't have any other protection. Okay, now on the 4th day, the silver and the gold and the articles were weighed in the house of our God by the hand of Meremoth, the son of Uriah the priest, and with him was Eleazar the son of Phinehas. With them were the Levites, Jozabad the son of Jeshua, and Noadiah the son of Benui, with the number and weight of everything. All the weight was written down at that time. The children of those who had been carried away captive, who had come from the captivity, offered burnt offerings to the God of Israel, 12 bulls for all Israel, 96 rams, 77 lambs, and 12 male goats as a sin offering. All this was a burnt offering to the Lord. And they delivered the king's orders to the king's satraps and the governors in the region beyond the river. So they gave support to the people and the house of God. So this is just accounting that they, returned. Okay, it's just historically mentioned, so they did return. In Nehemiah 7 and 11, it mentions the same thing about their return. Then in chapter 9 of Ezra, Ezra does a similar thing to Daniel and intercedes in prayer, and he turns out to be a type of Christ in that, because Ezra seems to be pretty upright, and he does the same thing where he says, we have sinned, takes on the sin, that kind of thing. Anyway, so he gives a long prayer, and then in chapter 10, it deals also with this issue. They already had started to mess up. So they weren't supposed to marry people from other religions, and they had. So that was a problem that had to be dealt with. In chapter 10, it gets dealt with, and the need for separation comes up there, and they do this. So, and there's so many also attempts by the enemy. This was another one to infiltrate and mess things up, and mess up their line, because the Messiah had to come through, that line, and there were many attempts made at messing that up. So anyway, didn't happen though. The Messiah's fine. Okay, so all right. Anyway, that's it for Ezra, and now I will do Nehemiah, but that's going to be longer, so I'm going to make that a separate video, and I'll be right back.